This is the show.
Good morning. Welcome back to Mornings on the Show at ToddTaxpayer.com. The number one podcast for critical thinkers. You are the show. Well, we're happy to have you here. It's show number 7, actually, and it's our very first video podcast ever on the show. And this is what we're moving to. We know this is what the audience demands. And so this is what we're going to do. I even put the white shirt on. I got a tie. Very formal. No? Well, that's how important this is. Now, remember, you are the show. So you're welcome to join the conversation at any time. On X, you just go to Todd Taxpayer on X, and you will see where you can just jump right in the conversation. However, we realize that a lot of people are simply listening and don't have a chance to respond. So we provided other avenues for you to participate. Video comments are welcome on X and on YouTube. Just pick up your phone, start the camera, and chime in. And then we'll include your clip the next day. We're kind of going out of our way here. We think it's important. It's important that you have a voice in this discussion. The show is brought to you by thepricegenie.com this morning. And boy, we are excited because we got the mugs done. Go ahead and show them a picture of the mug right there. Just cruise over to toddtaxpayer.com and you will see a picture. You just click on that to get your own Mornings on the Show mug. We're all going to, I just ordered mine. And we're going to have a drawing. We're setting up the contest today. You will have an opportunity to win your own Mornings on the Show mug. And by the way, there's going to be more than one winner, more than one voter. So that's coming up as well. Glad to have you here. Welcome to Mornings on the Show at ToddTaxpayer.com. Coming up today on the big story, we are going to dig in to the Nevada Forum. It's a brand new organization, at least here in Nevada. And Andrew Shue, the powerhouse soccer player and actor behind the Nevada Forum. So it's going to be a really interesting discovery there, and I'll tell you all about how I discovered the Nevada Forum, because I'm the innocent party here. I am the innocent party. I did nothing except sit at my house looking at a screen. And I got sucked in. So that's coming up on the big story. Today on the show, the Nevada Forum and Andrew Shue. But right now, it's time for the rundown. Keeping a close eye on the Persian peace. And of course, the big indicator of how that's going, the price of oil. Down again this morning, $74.15. It's just kind of inching its way along to a target price of $60. That's when things really change. When you get an oil price of $60, this is when you'll see the world economy surge. Now, it's not perfect. As you know, Vice President Vance was getting ready to hop on an airplane just last week to fly off to Switzerland to work out the technical difficulties of the Memorandum of Understanding. Yes, an understanding isn't always an understanding. Surprise, surprise. So Vice President Vance parked it on the tarmac. He didn't leave. Instead, he called his friend Joy Behar. Get her advice. No, they're friends now. They are. Joy Behar and J.D. Vance are friends now since she endorsed him live on The View. Go look it up. Mike Pence, former Vice President Mike Pence, calls the Iranian Memorandum of Understanding appeasement. Yes, hearkening back to the likes of British Prime Minister Neville Chamberlain, waving a piece of paper saying peace in our time. That's what he equates the Memorandum of Understanding with the Iranians. Mike Pence is just a disc jockey. He's a talk show host. That's what he did before he got into politics. Don't ask me how that happened in the state of Indiana, but that's what he used to do. He got picked. Remember, when you're a presidential candidate in the United States or pretty much anywhere, when you are deciding on your vice presidential running mate, you always pick someone that nobody wants. Like that's how you make sure you don't get killed as a president in the United States. Make sure your vice president is somebody nobody wants. Okay, so like Barack Obama, that was Joe Biden. Joe Biden, that was Kamala Harris. And Donald Trump, it was Mike Pence. Yes. No, very, very, very few vice presidents. George Bush Sr. snuck through for one term, but Bill Clinton clocked him the second time around. So the success rate of vice presidents making it into the J.D. Vance is trying to buck the trend, and that's why he went and got the endorsement of Joy Behar on The View. Well, today, J.D. Vance is planning on going to Switzerland. They're ready to work out the details of the Memorandum of Understanding. And apparently the Iranians are going to allow the inspectors from the International Atomic Energy Association or Commission, the IAEA, they're going to go in and look at all the nuclear material, do an inspection. We've been down this road before. They were like, oh, you want to see the nuclear material? Come on over here. We got it right over here. Well, what's that over there? It looks like they're building an atom bomb. Oh, no. The nuclear material is over here. That's how they got away with getting it up to 60%. You got to keep an eye on these Persians. They're not. This has been going on for thousands of years. Just go ask the Sparta 300. They were there. They know how these guys operate. It's a lot of mysticism and yeah. So we're keeping an eye on the situation. My confidence in this is guarded. If I had to make a prediction today, I would say they just kind of hang out until, they kind of go inch by inch until after the midterm elections. And once President Trump sweeps that, he'll start bombing the crap out of them again. Across the ocean, a big shakeup. Yes. Probably the most unpopular, and I mean the most unpopular. I mean, maybe since Cromwell? The most unpopular prime minister in British history, Keir Starmer, resigned today. Now, don't think anything is going to change too quickly. There's not supposed to be general elections in Great Britain until 2029. And so between now and then, the Labour Party is going to pick a new prime minister, most likely. And that is going to be a Democratic National Socialist. Yes, Andy Burnham, Manchester, which is the like the new Islamic capital of Great Britain is Manchester. And so anyway, he's looking, there's a possibility. Don't listen, these British politicians are unpredictable. The mayor of London, who's Muslim, he is thinking of running as well. So there's 4 or 5 people that are in the race for this. Don't expect some big changes quite yet. But it's a big shakeup. I wonder how it feels to be the worst prime minister in British history. Like, what is that? Over 1,000 years? This guy's the worst? Okay, maybe it's just since the Magna Carta. Okay. 800 years? This guy's the worst. Thank you, Keir Starmer. Well, tough balloon, hard landing in Pahrump in southern Nevada. Yeah, when tourists go to Las Vegas, in this case, it was a Mississippi family. And, you can take a balloon ride. You can take a helicopter ride out to the Grand Canyon. You can take a helicopter ride up the Strip. And both of these vehicles have had their problems. And in this case, by that I mean tragedy. And in this case, the balloon came down. It came down a little bit hard. It hit the ground. And right away, this family from Mississippi ended up in the hospital with broken bones and pretty shook up by the whole experience, because I don't know how many of you have ever been up in a hot air balloon. Anybody? One time. I've done it one time. Back when the internet started and I was a high-flying CEO of a brand new startup, I got a phone call from the phone company we were using who had space on the hot air balloon here at the hot air balloon races in Reno. Do you know, Reno has like the championship hot air balloon races, I think they call it. And I was like, well, of course, hell yeah. I want to go up in a balloon. I had no clue what I was getting myself into. Now, from the ground, it looks like a lot of fun, doesn't it? You're standing on the ground. There goes the balloon up in the air. You're very excited about that, right? Like, isn't that cool? And they're all in that little basket, and they're all waving at me down here on the ground. I wish I was up in the basket. Until you're actually in the basket. Now, when you climb into a hot air balloon, the first thing you notice about the basket is it doesn't even come up to your waist. For most people, the edge of the basket of a hot air balloon does not go above their waist. So the first thing I did was wrap my arm around one of the columns, right? You know, there's like 4 or 5 columns that come down from the balloon to attach to the basket. I wrap myself around that. I'm not falling out of this thing. I got a company to run. There's people waiting for my signature for a paycheck. So I absolutely did not let go. And up the balloon went. Now, when you get that feeling that there's nothing above your waist between you and 600 feet, I forgot how high we went. It seemed like 1,000, but it probably was no more than 300 or 400 feet. That is one of the scariest feelings I have ever had. And the first thing I told myself when we got up to altitude was, I am never doing this again. This is scaring the crap out of me. And so we floated off, and after a while, I calmed down a little bit. I'm like, hey, if I got my arm around this thing, nothing's going to happen. I'm not going to fall out. But in fact, the only thing that can happen is a balloon could catch on fire. So we floated from Rancho San Rafael Park here in Reno. It's up by the university. That's where they have the balloon races every year. And we floated past that up towards Truckee Meadows Community College and the Desert Research Institute. It's kind of north of there. And it's a little hilly and canyony. You know, there's not a lot of flat places to land. And anyone's been to the Reno balloon races, you know, we've seen balloons land on streets, in backyards, all over the place. So that didn't really concern me. I wasn't concerned. And so the balloon operator starts, kind of working the flame to slow us down. And one thing, when a balloon or airplane or anything, but when you're coming down, one thing you notice is you kind of come down fast, really fast. And the balloon operator is like, I don't know if I could, it could be a little bit of a hard landing. Hang on, everybody. And I'm like, what? It's a balloon. And sure enough, we came down on the side of a hill. It was a bit of an angle, 10 degrees maybe. And the balloon tipped over. The basket tipped over, and we all fell out of the balloon. It wasn't terrible. It was just a little bit. So it was slow, I think it was. The basket tipped over slowly. And I stepped out of there and walked away, never to get into a hot air balloon ever again. Now, I'm not bashing it for anybody. You want to go up in the balloon? Go for it. But this family from Mississippi, who was probably innocently walking down the Las Vegas Strip saying, gosh, I can't find a buffet for under $25 in this place. And every single thing is out. Like, these people are from Mississippi, right? They're in Las Vegas. They're not whales. And they're like, I can't really afford to do anything. I can't get a drink. I can't get a buffet. How about I go into a hot air balloon ride? We can afford that, right? Come on, everybody. Let's get in a hot air balloon. Yeah. Well, we hope for a speedy recovery and for the balloon company as well. That's pretty rough business, right? Somebody just comes and pops your balloon, and it's all over. Well, the housing crisis in Nevada is tied directly to the federal government. Now, most of us have known this for years, but for some reason, the Democratic National Socialists in the state of Nevada have been pointing the finger at everybody else. Now, the only way that we get more federal land around cities like Las Vegas or Reno is for the federal government to either sell or just give it to us. You see, the federal government owns 82, I don't know what it's down to now, but at one point, 87% of the state of Nevada. Uncle Sam owns you if you live in Nevada. And so the only way to get more land to build more housing is to contact your Democratic senators, Jackie Rosen or Cortez Masto. These are the two people. Now, look, every time they bring a land bill up in the U.S. Senate, nobody complains. It's just like, sure, do whatever you want. Build some more houses. And over on the House side, we had Mark Amadei. I'm assuming if Mr. Flippo wins, he would do the same. I don't know about Teresa Benitez Thompson. I don't know what her position is on new housing. So if you're trying to build a house in Nevada, one of the first people you have to contact is one of the two Democratic senators that represent Nevada. They're the ones who have to introduce the bill. But they're hesitating. And why? Who is against building more housing on federal land? The Democratic National Socialists of Nevada. Yeah, that's right. Isn't that wild? That's crazy, right? Yeah, here comes the Sierra Club with all their friends, which, by the way, there's times when I've supported the Sierra Club. But in this case, they're like, no, don't build any more housing. Not out there. That's away from the core. Costs more in services. Water pipes, police stations, fire stations, roads, highways, congestion. They're not exactly wrong. But they want the cities of Reno and Las Vegas to build up. Build some big-ass apartment buildings. Cram everybody. Now, there's no land for that. No, to advance that agenda, they would have to take land from other people. So watch this battle. But, you know, it's not as simple as, you know, it's hard enough to find a construction crew to build a house. But just because you can do that and have the money, don't expect it to be easy. You got to fight the Sierra Club. And then you got to get a couple of Democrat senators off their asses. Yes, this is not easy. It's not. The federal government owns you if you're in Nevada. Well, Kamala Harris sat down with Don Lemon to talk about the constitutional republic that is the United States of America. Can you imagine that? Don Lemon and Kamala Harris. What was that conversation like, huh? I guess you can go find it on YouTube. And Kamala Harris wants to do away with the Electoral College. Now, understand, the Electoral College was put into place. First of all, there would not be a United States without the Electoral College. All of the smaller states that joined the Union in the very beginning and since rely on the Electoral College. You know, Nevada wouldn't mean a thing in presidential politics. Right now, Nevada is one of the first primaries. It was one of the first caucuses when we did that. And so it's important for states that are smaller, like Nevada, to have the Electoral College. Otherwise, the national presidential elections would be decided in Los Angeles, Chicago, New York. All these deep blue. You see, that's why Kamala Harris loves it, because those are the places where she won. And so if we could just do it by population instead of by states. See, when you're a president, you're elected to represent the 50 states, not 10 big cities. This is why people like Don Lemon and Kamala Harris are so frustrated. Honestly, this is one of the, Don Lemon's going to prison. Well, he violated the civil rights of a church. That's just as bad as protesting outside an abortion clinic. It's in the same law. So he's most likely going to prison. And Kamala Harris, well, she's most likely going to run again in the 2028 presidential election. Yeah. It'll be her and AOC. I'm sure in her calculation, Kamala Harris is figuring, well, AOC is the radical Democratic National Socialist, so I can probably beat her, at least in the primary. Speaking of Democrat, National Socialists, they are making big gains today. Oh, that's my prediction. Zoran Mondani out in New York City has been holding rallies as they get ready to hold a primary vote, and Democratic National Socialists there are looking to take over at least a couple of seats that are up for grabs. The one lady whose name I can't even remember, she wants to do away with ICE. She wants to do away with deportation, even a murder. Somebody crosses the border and commits a murder. Nope, you can't deport them. That's her position. That's what's happening in New York City. And, this isn't the only place. Democratic National Socialists have made some pretty big gains in places like the nation's capital, Washington, D.C., Los Angeles, even in Maine, where Mr. Totenkopf is making the argument that you need a Nazi in the U.S. Senate if you're going to stop this fascist king. And forget about the old lady who made it to work 10,000 times. That is the agenda of the Democratic National Socialists. And it went on. There's this whole conversation they're starting to push about the Supreme Court. They want to expand the Supreme Court. They want to put term limits on the Supreme Court. They want to, Ro Khanna from California, normally a moderate, he's out there. Those guys don't need to be in there more than 18 years. 18-year term limit for Supreme Court justices. You need a constitutional amendment to do that, pal. And his response was, well, not if you burn the Constitution. That's their agenda. Burn it down. Then we can do whatever we want. Can do whatever Supreme Court as big as we want. Yeah. This is their plan. This is what they're telling you. That's what the plan is. And the whole point of having an independent judiciary is because back when the United States didn't exist, and the King of England would send the redcoats to your house to sleep in the room next to your daughter. And if there was a British judge in the 13 colonies who said, well, no, don't put your troops in people's houses, the king would replace the judge. That's why we have a Supreme Court where the judges serve their entire lifetime. Because before that, the King of England ruled the courts. It wasn't great. That's what Kamala Harris is talking about. She wants to rule the Supreme Court. AOC, Mondani, every single Democratic National Socialist, every single Democrat, frankly, wants to go back to the system just like it was under the King of England. We just fire these people. If they don't rule on the court cases the way you want them to rule, then they get fired. And you know what? If you can't fire them, don't worry. We've got a mob we can send to their house. They'll firebomb it. They'll try and shoot them. That is the idea of justice under democratic National Socialism. It's no different than in Nazi Germany or China or Russia or most countries. In most countries, the judiciary is not independent. It serves at the discretion of the leadership. Not here in the United States. And we shouldn't change that. And it takes a constitutional amendment to change that. So, don't expect anything too amazing from the Democratic National Socialists. That is the rundown. Well, the rundown is sponsored by the Price Genie. Head over to thepricegenie.com and pick up a copy of The Magic Lamp. It's absolutely free. They send it out pretty much every day. All kinds of great deals across the spectrum. Our favorite is Pete's Coffee. Now, we did get the morning mugs up there on ToddTaxpayer.com. So if you want to pick up one of the morning mugs from thepricegenie.com, it's available. It is now available. Special edition. There's more than just mugs. They created a whole bunch of swag for the show. Mornings on the show. And so there's links to all of that. And there's other deals that come through too. So sign up for The Magic Lamp at thepricegenie.com. You're watching Mornings on the Show at ToddTaxpayer.com, the #1 podcast for critical thinkers. You are the show. You can join the conversation at any time on X Spaces if you happen to be listening at 7:30 in the morning on X. Or you can do video comments. Open up that camera. Shoot us a video comment. We'll grab that thing and get it on the show the next day and have a discussion about it. You are the show. Or you can visit ToddTaxpayer.com and leave a comment there. We've got a little form. You click on that, fill it out. Yes, there's a spot where you can throw us a buck if you feel like, but it's not required. We're more interested in your opinion than your money. Can you imagine that? So check it out. Mornings on the Show at ToddTaxpayer.com. The #1 podcast for critical thinkers. It is time right now for the big story. The big story today. I've got it right here, I believe. Yep. The Nevada Forum. What is the Nevada Forum? Well, even I found it a bit mysterious. Here I was, innocently scrolling on Instagram. And here comes Andrew Shue across my screen talking about the Nevada Forum. Talking about how Republicans and Democrats and independents are all coming together finally. This is what everybody wants. Unity. Consensus on the things most important to all of us. Sounds great. No, it does. And it's not the first time I've heard that. It's not the first time something like this has been tried in Nevada or other places in the country. I mean, we've had a couple presidential candidates try this. So this idea that Democrats and Republicans and independent voters are somehow not connected to the leaders in their party who are acting on their behalf, sometimes it's a tough one to call. Like, I've stood at the Nevada legislature while a whole group of Republicans voted to create the largest tax increase in Nevada history, right after pointing out that Democrats wanted to create the largest tax increase in Nevada history 1 year before that. So I've seen what you're talking about. I'm just not sure I believe it. But I'm the innocent party here. I didn't go out looking for these people. They came across my Instagram. The Nevada Forum. I was like, I don't think I've ever met this gentleman in Nevada. Guess what? Because he's not from Nevada. So who is Andrew Shue? The man coming across your Instagram feed. Well, Andrew Shue is Billy. Now, he did look familiar to me, not because I live there. However, and I didn't used to watch this either, but Billy was Billy was one of the gentlemen that lived at Melrose Place. Most of you probably don't even know what Melrose Place is. Most of you probably don't know what 90210 is. All right. There used to be this television show called 91210. I can't remember exactly the numbers. It really was 666. And the television show was about a high school in L.A., the same high school that Jeff Spicoli went to. And Tori Spelling, the daughter of Aaron Spelling, who at one time produced every big television show that was on television in the United States. The Love Boat, Fantasy Island, 90210, and Melrose Place. And what was Melrose Place? Melrose Place was sort of this trendy apartment complex where all these young, attractive, single, semi-professional individuals lived and screwed each other. And then they screwed each other over. And that was the premise of the whole show, back and forth. Andrew Shue was Billy in that show. As popular as that show was, I never saw one episode. I couldn't sit through 5 minutes. It was so much drama over nothing. These people had everything. These people at Melrose Place had freaking everything. They had nice cars. They had nice jobs. They had a great future. You know the one thing they couldn't do? Figure out themselves. Nah, they couldn't sit in this nice apartment with all this nice furniture, all the food they want, all the money they want, basically. They all just sat around complaining because they couldn't figure themselves out. That is what Melrose Place was about. And sadly, the audience at the time could really relate to it. They really could. It got outstanding ratings. Now, Andrew Shue is the brother, a little personal confession here. Andrew Shue is the brother of Elizabeth Shue, who was one of the Hollywood Brat Packers. She was in many Hollywood films back in the 80s. She played the sort of innocent, popular one in the little sweaters, you know, the little Yves Saint Laurent sweaters that the popular girls used to wear if they weren't too racy. That was Elizabeth Shue, and she was always the girl that was misunderstood and getting screwed over. Mm-hmm. And when I was a teenager back then, I had a thing for her, okay? Just like so many other young men at the time. Now, Andrew Shue, who's cheerleading for the Nevada Forum, is behind it, does not live in Nevada. He does not live in Nevada. He lives in New York City. New York City. Andrew Shue, who's pushing the Nevada Forum, lives in New York City. Now, why would that be important? Well, you have to look at the people that are behind these things, right? And so here's Andrew Shue. Got to be a wealthy guy, right? He's been an actor. He's done some work, some startups. He's gotten plenty of grants, I'm sure, for all these organizations that he's out there working for. He was a professional soccer player. So he's clearly a wealthy individual living in New York City. What's wrong with this picture? Andrew Shue lives in New York City as a wealthy philanthropist. What's wrong with this picture? Why is he in New York City? Anybody with money is leaving, right? Everybody who has wealth in New York City is moving to Florida or Texas. That's what they're doing. Why? Because they want to keep their money. They don't want a mob showing up outside their building, burning tires. That's just what happens in New York City. They tried to get a bunch of people to shovel the snow at the last snowstorm and they were attacked. That's what happens in New York City today because it's being run by Democratic National Socialism. And here's Andrew Shue. He's still in New York City. Why? Why is that? Why would a wealthy philanthropist still be living in New York City? There's something wrong with that. There's something wrong with that. Sorry. There just is. And I think my first question is, Mr. Shue, did you vote for Mayor Mondami? Like, who did you vote for in the mayor's election? Was it Mondami? That's what I'd want to know first. Before I hear anything about the Nevada Forum or their great ideas for all of us who live here, Republican, Democrat, and Independent alike, the first thing I want to know is, Andrew Shue, did you vote for Mayor Mondami? Because that might be important to the discussion. Did you support the Democratic National Socialist who's running for city council, who wants to abolish deportations? I mean, who wants to abolish ISIS? Did you support her? Who did you support for city council, Mr. Shue? Okay, so keep that in mind because now I'm going to read what's on their own website. I think it's good to look at what people say and compare that to what they actually do. So on the NevadaForum.org, it's nvforum.org, they've got a page, Who's Behind the Nevada Forum? Now, this apparently was an article in Nevada Independent that they may have just lifted or, lifted parts of it. I'm just going to read it as is. I don't really care. So I'm just going to read this and comment along the way. Keep your ears open. Stay sharp as we go through this. Nonpartisan group hopes to bring GOP and Dems together. Oh, that should be easy. As candidates scrap it out during the election year, it's rare to see bipartisan efforts. But the Nevada Forum, a new civic infrastructure nonprofit, officially launched. It aims to break through the polarization. The polarization actually is in the Democratic Party. The group seeks to find solutions to systemic problems supported by people across all political affiliations, starting with the question, listen to this, quote, if Nevada state leaders and residents could solve one problem, what should it be? Unquote. Okay, right there. Okay, what was the answer last week? Do you remember? What was the answer last Friday on what was uniting all Nevadans when solving one problem? Do you know what the problem was? Data centers. Data centers. Okay? But don't get hung up on that. That's this week. If you ask the question next week, it could be gas prices. If you ask the question the week after that, it could be education. Like first week of school, education will be the number one issue. The entire premise of the question is no, that doesn't work. This is why popularity contests don't work. This is why Athens don't work. Okay? Straight up popularity votes on the most important questions don't work. Very rarely. You have to find leaders you can trust. That's what works. So the entire premise is kind of off the hook right there. Nevada is one of 3 states alongside South Carolina and New Hampshire. I want to go to the forum in New Hampshire. Oh, that's not Maine. Okay, sorry. I don't know how. I used to think that all the Nazis were up in northern Idaho across from Spokane. They've all moved back east in Maine. And I'm tainting New Hampshire now. Terrible. The new experiment's being launched by actor and entrepreneur Andrew Shue, who also co-founded and served on the board of directors of the nonprofit Do Something. Now, that's what I gotta go figure out what they actually did. Like, if it's called Do Something, what did you do? Shue told the Nevada Independent, the initiative is designed to help Nevadans communicate across political divides and generate bipartisan legislation lawmakers can implement in 2027. That sounds like taxes to me. Let me read it to you again. That's what I heard. Let me read it to you again and see what you come up with, okay? The Nevada Forum is designed to help Nevadans communicate across political divides and generate bipartisan legislation lawmakers can implement during the 2027 legislative session. That sounds like higher taxes to me. That right away. It sounds like ranked choice voting. It sounds like the end of vouchers in Nevada, right after the governor expanded. In fact, we had a story earlier. This is interesting. Back in Wisconsin. Is that right? Where was that? Democrats in Wisconsin are going to destroy the voucher system that was created that serves 60,000 students in that state. So I'm already suspicious. I'm not even past the first page. Mr. Shue says there's just a real desire to start getting stuff done because Nevada never gets anything done. He should go out to Arkansas and talk to Governor Sanders. I guess she's got a great education initiative out there. Head out to Arkansas. In building the civic infrastructure, in marketing it, in meeting with people from grassroots to grass tops, that's a new one. Yeah? Is Aaron Ford one of your grass tops? Alexis Hill, is she a grass top? We have not had one meeting in the 3 states that we've been working in where someone has said, this is not worth your time. No, what people have said is, we have to try this. This has been tried many times. This isn't new. Okay. We've tried this before. I could name some this is what the Gwynn Center does. The Gwynn Center talks about the future of Nevada and all, and then they support, what's happening over at the homeless encampment by the freeway here in Reno. They support higher taxes for education. This is what they do. It's supposedly what Nevadans want. We had a meeting. We had a vote. We had a popularity contest. This is what Nevadans want. It's the key to Nevada's future. And now what do we have today? Too many kids with too much student debt who cannot get a job to pay it off in their entire lifetimes. Good job. Smart. Real smart. The idea for the project began, Shue recalled, about 10 years ago. See? It's not a new thing. This is over 10 years old. It's been around for quite a while, actually. Let's bring Republicans and Democrats together. They all want the same thing. Really, it's the leaders in both parties. It's politicians. Who do you think they work for? Listen, if Zoran Mondami can't make the buses free like he promised, can't open the city-owned government grocery store like he promised, the final piece is going to be to convene a politically and demographically representative group of 50 to 100 Nevadans. Okay? Popularity contests, folks. They're going to go around the state. They're going to go, find all these people throughout the state. And out of a state of 4.5 million people, they're going to pick 100 to represent you. And then those people would propose legislation to take to the Nevada legislature 1 year from now in 2027, all working alongside state lawmakers. No. What? No. Our goal is to have this not be a one and done. This should be like an annualized civil infrastructure. So they want to do this every year. The Nevada Forum wants to be in business here every year. I mean, if it's so cool, why doesn't Andrew move to Nevada? We don't have an income tax. I mean, move to Las Vegas. Then you can be a part of the process. But don't stroll into town and tell us how to all come together while you live in a stronghold of democratic National Socialism. Like, that's highly suspicious. Why would you stay in New York City when you have all this money? Nobody else is doing that. Why are you doing that, Mr. Shue? Former Clark County Democratic Party Chair Chris Miller and prominent state Republican Greg Baylor are co-chairs of the effort in Nevada. Baylor served as the Nevada State Director for the Republican National Committee and Executive Director of the Nevada Republican Party. Everybody knows Greg Baylor. It'd be interesting to see what he has to say about all this. It's not the first time this has been tried. And it rarely works. They rarely get anything through. Because what happens is they show up at the Nevada legislature and say, hey, we got all these Nevadans together, and then out of that we picked 100, and they came up with this proposal. You should vote for it because this is what Nevadans want. Every legislature turns to them and says, those aren't the people who vote for me in the primary, so I'm not voting for that. You think the Nevada Forum is going to pull any sway with Mr. Flippo? Do you really believe Mr. Flippo is going to listen to Andrew Shue of the Nevada Forum? No. Already, the Nevada Forum has more than 400 policy ideas. Wow. How many BDRs? How many BDRs you got online for those 400 policy? You know, all this means is they're going to go to every meeting. The Nevada Forum is just going to be like that organization, the People's... Boy, I used to know the name for this. People's Liberation Army of Nevada. Plan. Yes, Nevada's plan. The People's Liberation Army of Nevada. They go down there every session and go to every meeting and have an opinion on just about everything. And they're allowed to testify. Great. Nobody pays attention. Nobody pays attention. Not even their brethren in the Democratic National Socialist Party. No. It's too extreme. It's just too extreme. They were out protesting data center. They're standing out there at Keystone. You know, they know where their people are, and they usually go there. But when it comes to getting things actually done at the Nevada legislature, the biggest accomplishment plan ever had in Nevada was a tax increase on corporations. They advocated it for years against the Walmarts and Targets of the world, and their Democratic buddies couldn't get it done. It took a Republican governor who got it through. So the biggest success of the People's Liberation Army in Nevada is because of a Republican governor. But that's okay. The Nevada Forum knows what they're doing. I want to find out how the Nevada Forum feels about some of the current policies that are in place, not the ones they want to do next year. Yeah. Well, what are you doing in New York? Move to Vegas. They think the forum offers the opportunity for the 75% of state residents who were not born here. Those people get to vote every 2 years, sir. So, yeah. Listen, we're going to keep an eye on the Nevada Forum, and at some point we might even talk to some of the people at the Nevada Forum. But we're going to keep an eye on this because, honestly, every time this happens, every time a group comes through, like the Nevada Forum, and want to propose legislation on 400 different ideas, it usually means taxes. It usually means higher taxes. It usually means a limit on your freedoms. See, that's the only way most of these great ideas that Republicans and Democrats who come together can actually get done. It's through limiting your freedom and taking your money. That is the big story. Mornings on the show at ToddTaxpayer.com. One more time, it's brought to you by ThePriceGenie.com. And coming up, a little bit later today, probably, or tomorrow, you want to go to ToddTaxpayer.com and get in the drawing for one of the Mornings on the Show mugs that we completed. You can buy one now. Just go to the website, ToddTaxpayer.com. There's a link right there with a picture of the mug, so you can join us with that every morning. And we'll be giving them away as well. So I'll make sure you know about that and how you can enter. Also, while you're over at ThePriceGenie.com, make sure you sign up for the Magic Lamp. Thank you very much for joining us this morning for our first video, Mornings on the Show, at ToddTaxpayer.com. Have a great day.
You've been listening to The Show at ToddTaxpayer.com.
Am I done? Am I finished?
There was a shoebox with a phone book in it.
And the kick in the can thing.
Okay. No one envisioned.
The Show at ToddTaxpayer.com.